so many young people are being killed for it's so many different variables that go into the killings and different motives behind the killings. So I wanted to do my best to save some lives on the front end before, any shots are fired, because and I know some people's lives could have been spared. I've been in some sticky situations, because when you're saving a life, and I say this to everybody, if you say you saving lives for real and you've never had an encounter, you never had nobody cuss you. I had a guy that told me to put me to sleep before. I had to save a young guy's life.
OG, 2 letters that define respect. I created the Original OGs to document the forgotten parts of American history. I want to recognize and give a voice to the men and women that have climbed to the top of their game. The men and women this marquee have been authenticated as original OGs. Welcome to my world, a world of the originals, the unique. Welcome to the Original OGs. Welcome to the Original OGs, and I'm your host, OG Mr. Rick. Hey, before we get started, don't forget, subscribe, share, follow. Today's guest, man, I've been waiting to do this show for a while. This is my main man, you know what I'm saying? We go way back, from the Henry Horners all the way forward. This brother is a specialist in saving lives. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. It's an honor to be here with you on the Original OG show here.
My man. So this is Mr. Tio Hardiman. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. Where were your parents from?
My mother originally from Cabrini Green, and my father was from the south side of Chicago. That's what happened there. But I traced my roots to a slave plantation all the way back in Louisiana and the state of Georgia with my grandparents and great-grandparents and all the people that migrated from the south to the north. That's why I was born in Chicago.
And every time I talk to you, it's the same damn journey, man. You're coming up with your family. What was that like?
When I was a little bitty kid, around 4 or 5, we was in the Cabrini Green row houses.
That's where I lived.
And then my parents, my grandparents, my mother, she did the best she could do, but my grandparents ended up coming over to get us. Then we ended up on the south side of Chicago in a community known as Lawn City. We grew up around Avalon Park at one time, right? So from the age, it was kind of rough, I must admit. My mother had, most of the guys she dealt with the exception of one, they were drug addicts. So I grew up around a lot of people shooting dope around me. People don't know this, but my uncle shot dope, stepfather shot dope. It wasn't that easy growing up. And I tell this story all the time so people can break free from any trauma they may have experienced. Growing up was kind of tough, but I had an uncle named Big Mike, because when my grandparents took us in, he was their youngest child.
Right.
So he got kind of jealous. So he didn't do nothing major to me. I want to make that clear. He used to make me eat salt sandwiches, white salt, and he'd pour it on the bread, and it'd take 24 hours a day to eat a salt sandwich, right?
Right.
I would be like, I was around 10 years old. I'm out on my little skateboard playing ball outside. I hear this big voice, this strong voice, Tio, get in the house. And then I come in the house, man, what's up, And I got over this over the years because you deal with all this kind of stuff, but just to be straight up. So I eat the salt sandwich, and it takes 24 hours to eat it in my mind.
Right.
And there's no water to chase it down, right?
Wow.
And I'm laughing now, but people might need to hear this because that's trauma I had to deal with as a young age. So by the time I turned 15 years old, one day I was shooting dice because my uncle was about 10 years older than I was.
Right.
And I was shooting dice with one of his friends, and I won the money, but his friend snatched it back. So I get into a fight with his friend named Chip. They called him Chip. And my uncle didn't help me fight his friend, and that was a turning point. I took a 2x4, hit my uncle in the head with it, then I ran out the house. Everything kind of built up on me. My mother, she lived on the west side. She moved out of the Cabrini Green row houses. That's when she ended up living over in the Henry Horner projects. So I was back and forth for south side, but then I eventually moved all the way in the Henry Horner projects from that point. I ran out the house after I hit my uncle in the head with the 2x4. I ended up over in the projects.
So what building were you in the Henry Horners?
Yeah, 1847 West Lake, apartment 505.
What were the main organizations in that part of Cabrini Green?
Yeah, Henry Horner, yeah. You had, it was, believe it or not, the building 1847 West Lake Street.
Right.
When we was growing up, you didn't have a whole lot of street organizations in that particular building at that time.
Right.
They eventually took over the building, but we had a lot
that.
of, I used to sing in the hallway of the building. I had a group, it might make you laugh, we call ourselves the Disappointments,
Okay.
I'm just messing with you. I used to want to be like Teddy Pendergrass
Right.
and my man Peebo Bryce and Jeffrey Osborne. So we would drink a lot, and I started drinking and snorting cocaine and smoking marijuana like around 14, 15 years old. But I had a lot of fun in the projects.
Right.
For me, it was fun because we'd be in the hallway waking everybody up early in the morning, singing and stuff, right? But the thing is, the street organization element was right next door in building 141. Then you had the Gangster Stones, you had the Maniac Conservative Vice Lords, you had the Folk Hunter Hustlers, the Black Disciples. You had every street organization as far as that area in the Henry Horner projects that existed over there.
Right.
But they've come from other groups, and then they turned to some major street organizations. All the guys would come to the Henry Horner projects. But I guess when it comes to me being a peacemaker, my birthday is September 21st. I was born on the International Day of Peace. I never knew that until late on in my life. But the thing is, even back then, I was like a brother and a big brother to guys that might have been a little older than I was.
Right.
Because by me growing up around my uncle shooting dope, and I remember my stepfather, God bless his soul, Frantic Fred. You want to hear some gangster stuff? We was in the house over there of a Horn and Van Buren, and he was at the kitchen table with some of his friends. And he told one of his friends, "Hey man, did you call the funeral home tonight?" And his friend said, "What you mean?" He say, "Man, you should have told him you was on your way." Bam! Shot him, man.
Shot
I
him
promise you.
dead.
Hey, man, I bear witness it. The young guys, 10, 11, 12 years old, I had, hey, what can you do? And I wasn't the toughest guy in the projects or the toughest guy in Chicago, but I'm a stand-up man.
Right.
Everybody know that about me. I was born a revolutionary. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. But I grew up around a lot of, crazy stuff, so it made me kind of identify with the streets at an early age.
It gave you a character.
There you go.
When did you jump off the porch?
I would think around 12, 13 years old when we started going through family problems. My grandmother died, grandfather passed away. Then I ended up being shipped to the projects, and then I got into it actually at Hirsch High School on the South Side. I was around 15. Got into it with some brothers about a female. True story. I remember on 82nd and Dobson, I was walking through the viaduct. The Blackstones tried to recruit me, right? And they jumped in my face, Rick. They say, "Stone or die." I say, "Where you sign up at?" I say, "You guys didn't put no flyers out in the community, right? I don't know where to go."
Not a good day to die.
That's right, that's right. They were looking for me, and the Stones wanted me to come to some meetings. I never joined. I want to make that clear. I ended up moving on the west side.
Right.
Because I had two different outfits. Some guys, not the whole organization, some guys was looking for me for whatever reason, right? So I was smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol at probably 12, 13, 14 years old, because I was trying to cope with all the depression I was dealing with from the household, you see, because it wasn't easy. There were times the lights were out. There were times, people don't know my backstory. I got 12 brothers and sisters. A lot of my brothers got caught up in drug addiction, and some of my sisters got caught up in situations, in-laws, everybody. But there's one brother I can mention here, Gangster Stone Chief Junebug, been with me, for a long time, right?
And his wife Trina.
Yeah, that's my sister.
Exactly.
The thing about it is that I never use his name for anything. He's just my family, as family. But the thing is, it's good that growing up in the neighborhood the way I did, because the reality is that I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot, but I have my revolutionary views, though. You see,
I totally get it. It was a revolutionary environment then.
Well, at one time, I asked Junebug, he was locked up in the Cook County Jail. I asked him to turn his mob over to me so I can make them revolutionaries.
Right.
He looked at me. He couldn't comment on that. He'll tell you I did it. But I was getting high then.
Drugs were all around you, people shooting dope, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I never shot dope.
Yeah, I ain't never shoot dope either. I got you.
You see what I'm saying? I did end up using dope.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I became a heroin addict. As long as I don't shoot it, I won't be like them. And then I started sniffing it and doing other things. And I became like them.
Yeah, I would snort cocaine, right? See, the reason I never did heroin because I watched my uncle shoot dope.
Right.
I didn't want to be a guy that nodded out all the time.
Right.
So cocaine just made me more hyper, but I just want to add a little bit more. When I jumped off the porch, what happened, I never jumped off the porch for just wanting to. It was out of necessity. Part of my scheme growing up, I used to sell fake hash to the sailors downtown.
Right.
I had a concoction made of K-Roll syrup, black shoe polish, nutmeg, and sage.
Right.
And I would bake it at home in my project kitchen, in the oven, and go downtown and sell it to the sailors down there. And I would be making $400 or $500 a week. And I never sold no hard drugs. I just sold fake hash.
Right.
These are some of the things I went through growing up. See, there was a time when you had structure with some of the street organizations.
Yes, sir.
So you can always go to a person and say, look, we need to shut that down. Do me a favor, give me 48 hours. Let's shut it down. Let's kind of take a look at what's really going on.
What caused you to feel the need to do something about the violence in the community?
Well, I believe for me, it was like a calling for me. By me being a revolutionary, I'm one of the most solid brothers you ever meet in your life. I say that to my lady friends. I say it to people everywhere, because if I'm solid with you, I'm solid, unless you show me something different.
Exactly.
You deal with jealousy. That's normal in the community, right? But the reality is this here. What made me get involved is that even in the projects, I remember talking guys down, in a lot of different situations. So it was a guy, before the camera started rolling, before everything before they began showing everything on the news, Tio Hardiman was out there stopping killings.
Exactly.
Way before then, I had what you call players' respect from killers. So you got to understand the mindset of psychopaths and killers out there. And for whatever reason, God gave that to me.
Exactly.
Some of my friends I grew up with, they would go-getters, but they was jammed with me. I was their man,
Right.
for whatever reason. So many young people are being killed it's so many different variables that go into the killings and different motives behind the killings. So I wanted to do my best to save some lives on the front end.
Right.
Before, any shots are fired, because and I know some people's lives could have been spared.
Exactly.
Like way back when I saw the guy get shot in his neck, and I think they shot him a couple more times, that life probably could have been saved. I've been in some sticky situations, because when you saving a life, and I say this to everybody, if you say you saving lives for real and you've never had an encounter, you never had nobody cuss you. I had a guy that told me to put me to sleep before. I had to save a young guy's life. He didn't put me to sleep, obviously, right? But he came back later and called me a big brother. I'm his big brother,
Right.
So he that's his way of apologizing without apologizing.
I get it.
Because I was on a mission. So I've had encounters with people. I've been around gunplay and all that before, because people not just putting their guns down easily all the time. And sometimes people say, I don't want to hear nothing about that peace stuff, right?
Period.
Right, but there's always somebody in the community that has a relationship with somebody else that you may not have that relationship with.
Right.
And that's how you work the system of the streets in
Right.
order to save a life. And then you analyze and you process what the motive behind the potential killing might be. So I don't like to come all the time after somebody gets killed already. I like to stop it. Like if I get a call, I can explain it, but it's a God-given talent that was, a God-given asset to me.
It's not hard
That's
to
what
understand.
it was.
It's not hard to understand.
And so that's why I believe a lot of the brothers gravitated towards me. So I can go there a little bit, like Willie Lloyd, for example, a good friend of mine. See, my relationship with Willie Lloyd wasn't based on him being a chief of the vice lord. I had a friendship with him.
Right.
Jetty Bo Diddley Williams, friend of mine.
Right.
Different types of relationships. Even though June was my brother-in-law, I've been around him for decades. He's
Right.
my friend and family, right?
Right.
So we had a different relationship. Melvin Haywood, chairman of the Gangster Disciples, friend of mine.
Right.
King Shorty Freeman, friend of mine.
I get it.
Albert Spann from the West Side, friend of mine. Minister Rico. I cannot name everybody. Brother Goody from out west. You got all the players and everybody out there. Even Don Juan, the bishop, friend of mine.
Right.
Even though he wasn't no gangster like that in the streets like that, but these streets another way. But these are friends. Ulysses Floyd from the South Side. So the point I'm making is that you had people that were solid with me for whatever reason. I was James Highsmith. These are guys I respect. I never put no man on no pedestal over me. I would never do that. I respect you, but the guys, if I had to say anybody would be a chief to me, it would be Malcolm X or Huey P. Newton.
I get it.
Them be the only guys that can say, man, that needs to get taken care of.
Right.
I'm a 9 times out of 10 take care of that for them brothers. But I don't
totally
put
get
nobody on no pedestal. No other man, because God is in my life and I feel I'm a black king. It has nothing to do with no ego. It's just that I'm a black king in my own right. And see, one thing I did learn about gunplay, even though I wasn't really involved in it, is that it's faster than the speed of light. And when it comes to stopping killing, so I was going back a little bit when I was a teenager, but as I began to work with my people on a higher level, I began to realize it's all about personal relationships. So that's why I mentioned my relationships with people.
Right.
So, now God has blessed me with a relationship with the younger guys. which is most important in today's world. So I can go all over the city right now and have a conversation with young guys, so I know how to get in where I fit in.
Right.
And I don't preach to the guys. See, when I work with violence prevention, I've never once told a guy to give me his gun. If a guy turned his gun in, that's on them.
Right.
I never said that to them guys, and I never mentioned guys' names. I never mentioned their street organization when I mediate conflicts.
Right.
It's not important for me. That's the reason why, God allowed me to go in there, and the guys trust my brand. There's no stool pigeon on my name nowhere. I'm not gonna have it. I don't tolerate that, because the reality of it, man, there's two ways to look at that. If a guy, and I said this publicly, if a guy goes to carjack somebody with a gun and he gets killed in the process, that guy signed up for that.
Right.
There's no sense in nobody feeling sorry for nobody.
You knew
if
what
you
was
go out
connected
there,
to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if you go out there and you in that lifestyle, because I know some OGs and some young OGs, if they're in that lifestyle, don't cry for them. And they'll tell you that, because they were built for that.
Exactly.
Okay? So what hurt me is when you see innocent people being shot and killed, people that are not in that lifestyle. Because one of the most wicked distortions of the street life is that you can have a family member that can go out there and invade somebody's house and kill the people in the house. By that person being your family member, you co-sign it. But that's my family. I'm sticking with them. I'm with them whether they're wrong or right. That's one of the worst statements in the world to me.
Right.
You with me if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Right.
Okay? So the thing is, the family, they have to deal with those situations the way they deal with them, but I don't abide to none of that stuff.
Right.
Because when you're killing innocent people, like I say, you're going in houses, you're carjacking people, you're altering people's lives, you're spooking people, nobody wants to tolerate that. Now, the reality is this: the black community, our lack of unity is hurting us more than anything else. That's what's killing us.
Exactly.
Because we're not a unified nation. In my mind of minds, I'm like a gentleman named my name is Captain Black. I'm talking about my alter ego.
Right,
and,
I get it.
What that
totally
dictates,
get it, right.
what it dictates to me is that the black community is under one type of leadership. You see, with a council of leaders, nothing goes on in the black community, nothing, without going through this council.
Exactly.
You see, that's the way it should take place. And if you're from 5 years old to 80 years old, there should be like an oath you would have to read that clearly states, I will not harm my brother. Right. Or my sister today. You have it on your back door, so when you leave out the front door, you can read the oath before you walk out into the community. That's something I believe needs to happen.
Oh, that's something that needs to be taught at an early age.
Early age, right.
How do you view violence today versus violence many, many years ago when we were coming up as shorties?
I think it's the same
Okay.
for me. Because I've seen it. I've been there. I believe it's the same. A lot of times people say how it used to be. Man, you had almost 1,000 people killed in the 80s every year. Not every year, but a couple of years in the 80s, the 90s, the late 70s. So you had the rise of the street organizations back in the late 60s, actually, but in the 70s, they really began to rise up.
In the 80s?
In the 80s, right. In the 80s, then you had the cocaine wars. So you had the players used to sell the heroin. Back in the day, the players, you see, and so then the gangs took over, the street organizations took over the sale of the heroin and cocaine, and they began to make money hand over fist, right, duffel bags of money.
Whole nother game.
So it dictates jealousy, kidnap, rob, you name
greed.
it, because of greed, and you had a lot of psychopaths that used to oversee them street organizations. So it's all about, I'm taking it. Now that's the mere definition of a gangster is I'm gonna take something.
Exactly.
I'm going to take something. If you got to look at the different profiles of gangs, you had the Lucky Lucianos, you had the Dutch Schultz, the Al Capones, then you had the brothers that was getting down just the same. When the street organizations took over the dope trade, it led to chaos within the street organizations. So they went from fighting different street organizations to fighting one another.
Right.
Infighting kicked off, right?
Exactly.
And so, but the moral of the story, some people may like this, they may not. If you actually sold a lot of dope in the black, I'm talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars of dope in the black community, you really poisoned your community. That's why I respect the fact that some guys that were involved in selling drugs, now they've come back to make it right. They're trying to pay it forward. We call it restorative justice, because everybody deserves a second chance. But really it's about, because when you think about the dope that was sold, women shot heroin back in the day too, but you didn't have as many women.
Right.
But the crack cocaine took the women out the house. And that's a whole nother story there. And them women were abused out there, messed over in them dope houses and stuff. And a lot of guys, they fed poison into the people. Now you got the young kids growing up without their parents, their mother, and their fathers, and now they all over the place. By me growing up in the projects, I understand the dynamics of what happened to my people.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm not going to give the brothers all that much credit for helping to destroy our community. I'm not going to do that. But I have a relationship with all them brothers, but I know a lot of them are paying it forward now. That's the
Exactly.
miracle and the beauty of it.
Violence back then was of a different nature than what it is now. And you being out there with violence prevention and sometimes having to go into the community after the fact.
Okay.
How do you see the difference in the violence now and the violence then?
Oh yeah, if you compare the two eras, back in the day you basically had street organizations that were beefing with one another. You had all-out gang wars to a degree, the Cabrini Greens,
Right.
700 Project. Now, if you fast track to the year 20, the year we in now, in other words, what you have, the gun violence is not so much orchestrated from street organization type of conflict.
Right.
You have a lot of different cliques. You have hybrid street organizations out there. You have crazy cousins. We just mediated a conflict 2 days ago on 79th and East End where a young 14-year-old guy, they shot at him 3 times because his sister ended up beating up another female. And the guys wanted to exact revenge on one of the family members. They shot at him. It wasn't clique related, but it turned into a clique related situation because when they shot at him, he called his crazy cousins. They came over there, so now everybody's shooting at each other. And so
Right.
I had my guys were dispatched to go over there and mediate the conflict, and they did a good job. But as an end result, they had to get 2 or 3 different guys on Messenger because everybody had somebody they might listen to in that moment, like a family member,
Right.
this person, that person. We calmed the situation down. Nobody lost their life.
Right.
So a lot of the motives behind the violence in today's world versus yesteryear is that interpersonal conflict. You've got misperceptions out there, social media beef, drill music, rap scene beef, and you got beefs out there. You still got a little clique beefs on the blocks and stuff because it's all territorial. Everybody
Right.
marked out their territory. And then social media has really, really escalated the tensions amongst some of the different cliques. Because if you put it like this, if you put somebody on blast on social media, now their friends can see it and they want to come back and get you and your family. So you got what the young guys call now, they call it the blitz. That's why they
Wow.
got these AK-47 and these automatic weapons, and they want to blitz the whole. That's why you hear about the mass shootings, women being shot down in big crowds
Babies.
because people blitzing. They call it, the bullets come down like rainfalls, right?
Wow.
So you have a few people out here, and I say a few because it's a small percentage of the population that are psychopathic to that level, where they don't. See, I've had friends that didn't have a conscience,
Right.
but what they'll do, they'll say, "Look, I'm good with you. I respect you, but I ain't got no real conscience, That's how I
Right.
say, yeah, some of them kind of
No, I
guys,
get it.
right?
I
And
get
some
it.
of them guys are the nicest guys in the world, but if you get on their bad side, it's been a wrap. But the reality is, in today's world, young guys, and I volunteer at the Cook County Jail with all the young brothers, yeah. I got you, yep. And I volunteer with them at the Cook County Jail. And one young brother, about 19, 20 years old, said that if you give some of them brothers a job going to sleep, they'll wake up out their sleep and quit the job.
Wow.
That's what the young brother told me. I'm talking about the voice of the younger
Right.
people, right? So you got territorial conflict, and it's making it hard because you have some 12 and 13-year-olds right on 7th and Cottage Grove. Some young guys showed me, a shopping bag full of automatic weapons.
Wow.
And they had $100,000 cash.
Wow.
So how you going to get through to them young guys? And then they've been taught to believe that money is everything. I have a relationship with them guys. I never ever mention their names, right? But I do tell them, look here, bro, y'all young, you living this kind of lifestyle, but if you need some help, let me know.
Right.
That's the best thing you can do.
Right.
And I had to negotiate a guy's life with a 15-year-old gang leader on the northwest side of Chicago. Street organization, clique leader, not gang leader.
15-year-old gang leader.
Gang leader. Yeah, he was on a bicycle with his shirt off, and he had
Wow.
shot up in somebody's house to kill a young man. And I had to negotiate with him, but I had to call some other young guys that were like 25 and 24 from his same clique to talk him down for me. Okay,
Wow.
so the young guys of today, the violence is all over the place, but it's a difference in the Latino community versus in Puerto Rican versus the African American community.
What's the difference?
The difference is that you have more order in the Mexican community. You're not gonna sell no dope on the street corners in the Mexican American community in Chicago. You might sell it a little bit in the Puerto Rican community, but they don't tolerate it,
As much.
right? But in the black communities, you can sell dope wherever you want to. Because we tolerated
crazy.
it over the years, it's become a staple in our community. So now back to the young brothers of today, they're making money on the internet. They're making money in a lot of different ways. So the dope game is it's lucrative, but not like it used to be.
Right.
So these young guys are finding different ways. Now, you also had the stick-up crews out there. Now, stick-up crews have been around for ages as well, but nowadays you got the stick-up cliques. They'll go out there and rob anybody, and then the car theft was on the rise for them, carjackings and everything.
Crazy.
And then just all-out robbery, mass confusion and chaos. They call them the youngins now. That's what we call them, the youngins. So
Wow.
the young guys are basically at a point where they feel they're untouchable and they will do any and everything. And the reason I say it's no big difference in today's world, because if you think about it, women and kids were getting killed back in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. We cannot overlook that. So some people say, well, no, it wasn't like this.
Oh,
Even
yes,
though
it was.
the street organization may have dealt with it a little different, like, okay, they had to bring that person to be, but I'm willing to guarantee you, you had some guys that were embedded in them street organizations on a high level that did some heinous stuff, and them guys still embraced them. They still embrace them. So it's hypocritical. Because that's the reality, because we got to call our people out when they do, if they go, see, nobody's perfect.
Right.
And I'm not here to judge nobody, but if somebody kill a kid, somebody rape a baby, even though they might be cool with you, you know, you got to do something about that.
Yeah,
you have to, you must address
that shouldn't
it.
be tolerated.
That's what I'm talking about, you have to address that. But you got some people that will overlook it because it's one of their family members. We got to stand for some principles out there, but that's the way it goes.
What are some of your biggest challenges and when you have to address those situations?
This is a major challenge with the young people of today. The biggest challenge is, what are you going to take the young guys to do, right, after you resolve the conflict?
Right.
A lot of guys say they might want to work, but in most situations, they're not ready to work. So how do you help prepare them? A lot of young people dealing with trauma, unaddressed trauma. The biggest challenge of today, working with young people, let's say you talk to them about stopping the violence or stopping whatever they're doing out there, and you have nothing to replace it. That's a big issue. And I've had young people snap on a lot of individuals because, look, you telling me to stop it, and here it is. I don't
And do what?
That's the point I'm making. I don't even have a pot to piss in. So the reality is that helping them understand that the trauma they've experienced in their lives has to be dealt with as well. Because nobody wants to associate with being a little mentally messed up or psychologically messed up. So it's about getting through that, breaking that barrier, so we can talk to them in a human sense and let them know, I've been through what you've been through. I understand, like I just gave part of my testimonial.
Right.
People don't know that unless I talk about it.
Exactly.
So I wrote a book called Death of an Addict, Resurrection of a Man, where I talk about all the way I grew up. And I also wrote a book titled Interrupting Gun Violence, a Public Health Approach. So when you're working with young people, another barrier is that finding resources where they would be, people would accept them. And then a lot of people, their writing skills are not the best. You ask some people for a resume, they don't even know how to even put together a resume. So it's a big challenge. And then once you get the resume, see, it's important for people to know how to talk. Put it like this: if you cannot write or read, and I'm not downing you for that.
No, we're just talking about if you can't.
Yeah, there you go. And plus, I wasn't the best writer.
And I still ain't.
That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not knocking nobody.
Right.
But if you cannot write, read, or talk, that's a deficit off the back. So now you got to find something to do where you can be more useful. Like back, some time ago, some people can work on cars. They can do little stuff in the community, mow somebody's grass. But people are not interested in that nowadays. A lot of young people, they want to work. It's really cyber kind of stuff going on in today's world with some of the young people.
No,
even the guys that's breaking the
get
law, they dealing with cyber crimes.
I totally get it. You and I, we're going to get together, and we're going to help solve that problem of what do you do if you put your gun down.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we're going to make things available for you to be able to raise your family without a gun. There ain't no way to live, man.
But
I know. Go ahead, brother.
No, I'm saying on behalf of Violence Interrupters, we have about 42 staff right now in Chicago, and then Violence Interrupters are working throughout the nation. And I own the patent on Violence Interrupters, so some people try to use it, but they shouldn't be using it. But I just want to bring up the numbers here. We're working with 100 young people in Chicago right now, and about 35% of them, we re-enroll them back into alternative schools. Another 35%, they're working like job training type of skill, they're learning how to work and improve their resume and their skill sets, put it like that, about 35% of them. And then another 15%, we've actually secured employment for them. And the remaining percentage of people, we're working with them with their cognitive skills and development, anger management, and dealing with, like I say, unaddressed trauma. So we're doing the best we can do. And we've mediated this year alone 40 conflicts on the front end. It's not a big number, but it's a solid number.
It's a serious number.
It's a serious number. We stopped a person from killing another person.
Right.
Not after the shots fired, but before the shots were fired, which is so important.
Right.
And Chicago in this year of 2025 is on pace to have the lowest number of homicides over the last 60 years. Now, we all contributed to that number, but I just want to say it's important. I know Donald Trump was talking about sending in the National Guard and all that kind of stuff there, but my response would be, we need a black guard. We need black
Right.
men to unify and take care of our own business. The only thing lacking is we don't have the resources that the police may have or the National Guard. But I guarantee everybody in the world, especially the black community, providing violence interrupters, and not just my organization, I speak up for everybody,
Right.
but providing violence interrupters were to receive, let's say, close to $1 billion, we would reduce homicides by 90%. Because I have the strategy, I know the formula. I know how to go out there and meet with the guys, meet them where they are, and get these guys to come with me. I can't expose, it's like you're giving up a secret ingredient, right? Or
No,
recipe.
you don't do that. That's
you
why
can't
they
do that.
trust
Right.
you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
you
I know
would
how to get
destroy
out.
that.
I know how to talk to my people, the young people and everybody. And I've displayed this on several occasions. And what helped me also, people used to think I was on the news because of being grandiose or ego. No, I was on the news for one reason, to show my people that I'm getting down for the people. That's the only
Period.
reason I was on the news.
What gave you the idea to create violence prevention?
Yeah, what happened, like I say, blessed are the peacemakers. I was born on September 21st, the International Day of Peace. It was like a God-given. That's the only way I can break it down to you, because I was able to stop guys from bullying guys. Just something that I gravitated towards in my life, because we all struggle, because I went through a identity crisis, Mr. Rick. At once I was TOX, the revolutionary.
I still call you that
That's
sometimes.
why I'm TOX, right? Back in the days, I used to call myself Black Gold. T-Mac, so
Right.
I went through them phases in my life, only to be T.O. Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman, the creator of the Violence Interrupters. And I created the Violence Interrupters in 2004 because I knew what God gave me could turn into an actual solution to work with our people. And it's all based, like I say, once again, on personal relationship.
Right.
I don't need you. So, as a matter of fact, I'm the wrong guy for you to tell me you my brother, I'm your brother, or your big brother. When you tell me that, I'm holding you accountable on it.
Exactly.
So if you want to go kill somebody, but you say I'm your brother, and once I know the reason why you want to kill that person, whether you're young or middle-aged or whatever, I'm gonna stand on you.
Right.
I had a situation like that with a friend of mine. I'm not gonna mention his name. He's married. His mama's sick. She on an oxygen machine. Real stories from the hood. His mama is on an oxygen machine. He's living with her, but he's married, got 3 kids. But he's dealing with another lady that another guy dealing with. So they both dealing with another lady. So the guy she dealing with called him a B-I-T-C-H, something like that. But the guy he called the B-I-T-C-H, he about 38 years old, but he's a killer.
Right.
So now he done drove up to in front of the woman's house to kill the guy that's in the house.
Right.
I get a call. I know this guy. I did him a favor before, wrote him a letter to get him out of jail, And I say, man, I need to holler at you. He said, come on, man, I ain't trying to hear that nowadays, man. I say, hey, man, I'm not trying to hear nothing. I say, you're going to listen to me. When your people contacted me, he said, I say, you going to go in there and try to kill this guy over the female, right? He may have disrespected you verbally. Give me a minute. And I kid you not, I walked in that house and the guy that disrespected him was in there shaking like a leaf on the tree in the wintertime. He was just like this, shaking in the house.
I get it.
And the lady looked at him like, what's going on? I go back to the car to talk to this guy. I say, look here, man, you done already shot him without shooting him.
You done
He said,
already
what do you
shot him.
mean? I say, the man there shaking, he can't even hold his head up. You know what he told me, Rick? He said, I'm gonna go home and put my gun up, but tell him to come outside. We got to fight or something. So I went in the house. I told the guy, the man want to see you on the front, man. Y'all got to throw him up. That man was in the closet. I'm not joking.
Totally get it.
That man was in the closet shaking, man. And so to make a long story short, I cussed the other guy out. I say, man, I wrote that letter from you. You don't know me that good, but I know you good enough to say this to you as a big brother. Take your ass home, man, and get with your woman. Your mama's sick. Do the right thing. And the girl told me, she said, thank you very much, sir. She didn't even know me. And the guy that was shaking said, you need to get out of my house. I don't have nothing to do with neither one of you guys.
Right.
So the guy, he's still cool today. Me and the guy cool. The guy sent him home. And he said, he's glad he listened to me, because that's a situation that could have turned deadly, because the guy had a homicide in his background. So God has given me a way with dealing with some of these guys that want to kill sometimes. And that's the reason why I do what I do, because it's been working for me. But I've been challenged before.
Right.
So just being honest, because it's not like I know everybody.
You go into situations in the heat of the moment, and guys just really ain't trying to hear it.
Just on another side, a guy, like I say, told me to put me to sleep before. And I was, it was in the wintertime, not real cold. It's kind of like mildly cold outside. And I was on Washington, out in the Austin community, right off Central in Washington. And the guy, I was doing my best to save a life of a 20-year-old guy. And the guy put him in the back because the parents had called me. This is crazy, because the 20-year-old guy was working security on his drug location over there. And I ain't going to give up the exact location.
Right.
But his mother had an asthma attack. So his sister called him on her cell phone. He ran to help his mother. The police came and raided the drug spot as soon as he ran off. They
Wow.
thought he told on him.
Wow.
And I got all the background information. So they grabbed the boy as soon as he came back to his house, and they took him in the back of his building. His sister called me, the mama. I rushed over there. Mr. Ceasefire, right?
Right.
Some movie stuff. And don't try this at home. It's not for the faint at heart, though, okay?
Right.
So when I arrived on the scene, I kid you not, that guy told me, say, man, before you take another step, I will put your ass to sleep, man. And he said it twice.
Wow.
You heard what I said, I will put you to sleep. And I'm not going to tell you I wasn't a little nervous because I was like, but I was already there.
Right.
You see, pride goes before the fall, right? And I looked at the man, I say, God, give me the words to say. I say, you want to kill this young guy? What he did, what you thought he did is not what he did.
Right.
His mama had an asthma attack, man. That's why he ran off the location.
Right.
I can back it up. He was at the hospital with her. He didn't tell on y'all.
Right.
And this guy, just to fast track the story, slapped the shit out the young guy, knocked him to the ground, told me to take him with me. And that's what I did. But the reality, the young guy got out of that street organization. He got slapped, but he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Now, when the guy told me he put me to sleep, don't get me wrong, that could have been addressed. But I'm a peacemaker.
That's not why you're there.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm a peacemaker. I saw the guy 6 months later in the McDonald's drive-thru. A car, somebody was blowing their horn at me. It was that brother that told me to put me to sleep, and he put his fist in there. How you doing, big brother? And that was his way of apologizing to me.
I totally get it.
Don't get it twisted. I could have had it addressed just like that. We got the young guy out of that clique, and now he's doing good. And I stayed in contact with the young guy. He's working up there at Walmart's now in Forest Park, which is a good thing, all right?
If we could give them a skill in order to be able to better their lives, do you think we could eliminate some of this stuff?
Well, you can reduce a lot of the gun violence, but it has to have a three-prong approach. One, you got to help people understand that the trauma they dealt with, because hurt people hurt other people.
Right.
And a lot of people have been miseducated about one another. We have to unify as a community, you see, number one. Now, I know it sounds generic, but it's true. We have to unify. So teaching people how to communicate right, how to raise up their literacy skills, like reading and writing, is very important, because a lot of times people may not want. I've helped some guys work jobs, and I put them out of factories. They were in there picking up big containers of candy, throwing it in a big old machine.
Right. That's
some hardcore work for some people. Some people don't want to do that.
Right.
Especially some of the younger people of today's world.
Exactly.
But educating people, helping them understand the value of working a job. Our forefathers worked jobs. Now, I know a lot of times people don't want to go back, but sometimes you have to go back to see where what you've missed from going back in order to go forward. You had working class family homeowners in the community.
Without a doubt.
And so that's how you build property and establishments. Right now in Chicago, in the year that we're talking now, it's been revealed that black people own zero net worth in Chicago.
That's crazy.
Zero net worth.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we got a lot of work. So when you're talking about working with young people, what would be a breakthrough moment? It would be teaching people on every level, because you never know what a person really wants to do, and some people cannot figure it out. See, I figured out a long time ago, I was born to help the people.
Right.
That's my natural calling.
There's conversation about the National Guard coming in to Chicago, but backtracking that, how does the state and the federal government play into stopping violence?
Well, that's a power-packed question, and I must admit, let's look at the state. I believe that Governor Pritzker is doing the best he can do with providing resources to a lot of agencies out here that are dealing with mental health, trauma support, violence prevention, and he's also funding, the state police to the best of his ability. So a lot of more work needs to be done, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I do believe the governor is doing the very best he can do based on the information that he's, and then on the federal level, it's always, a lot of people talk about resources, okay? But you have to examine the use of the resources.
Right.
How can the resources be best utilized in what area, and what's been proven to work? Like when I created the Violence Interrupters, and I used to be the director of Ceasefire Illinois, we had what you call a public health model, which was proven to get results.
Right.
Because we measured everything. We had a timeline. We measured all of our work over a certain period of time, which led to reductions in gun violence. So the federal government can do a better job at intercepting the illegal gun trade, because all these automatic weapons out here, they're off the charts. I have nothing against illegal gun owners,
right,
because there's no evidence to back up the fact that legal gun owners are part of the gun violence problem.
Right.
You have a few mass shooters that might use their legal guns. That happens.
It's not going to be able to prevent that.
Right, there you go. So the federal government can do a better job at tracing them illegal guns, because them guns they're in the hands of some of the people that want to commit crimes on a daily basis, and it's not right. Like I said, it's shopping. I saw some young guys with a shopping bag full of illegal guns.
Right.
I'm talking about automatic weapons. It's different. The days of the revolver are over, right?
That's
we
done.
talking about the year 2025 of our Lord, right?
Right.
But that's something. And then make sure that they allocate the resources to proven models. They get results,
Right.
because the gun violence is all over the place.
Right.
So the reality, there's no real like cookie cutter approach that you can use. So you have to kind of like think, like deal with current times and the current
Right.
trends. You got to think as you go and strategize like a think tank. But I believe that the federal government, see, Donald Trump is not so much in favor of supporting violence prevention efforts. He cut some federal funding for violence prevention.
The police is not, and I'm not getting against good police,
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, but they don't have the best relationship with the community. So how do you see that to an advantage or disadvantage, loading up the police, taken away from violence prevention, because violence prevention is concentrated inside the community.
Right.
So if you give the police more power, how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, the police have had a long history of, misconduct. Cook County used to be the #1 county for wrongful convictions here in Cook County due to
Without a
torture
doubt.
and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard really, because you have good police out there doing whatever they can do to help make the community better. But the police protect and serve. A lot of people coming after the crime. See, the police cannot get involved until the crime has been committed. It's not like they're preventing a lot of stuff on the front end,
Right.
because you need a crystal ball to know if somebody's about to do something. That's what makes the violence interrupters so impactful, because we receive them phone calls. We intercept whispers in order to know what's going on the ground level. Now, the federal government can support organizations like violence interrupters that have a proven track record. That's one thing they can do, and the state. But the state supports a lot of initiatives, like I said previously here. But also, I want to say this: the state, they're providing resources to families that lost their loved ones on a higher level. They're burying a lot of the people, paying for funeral expenses, because and I know especially in the black community, when somebody passes away, it's hard to come up with that money.
Right.
So the state is paying the attorney general's office. So it's a lot of work being done, but a lot of times you don't hear about it because everybody's caught up in the moment. So I believe the job for the federal government is if the state is not successful, in other words, in helping to reduce the different crime indexes, then the federal government should come in and actually have a conversation with the state first and see how we can better partner together to make it work for everybody.
What do you think about Trump saying he wants to send the National Guard to Chicago?
I believe the National Guard could be better utilized on the CTA trains in Chicago, because we have a lot of crime taking place where you have, there was a autistic boy about 9 years old. He was thrown down the stairs of the train. He was declared brain dead about a week and a half ago. You had a lady 70 years old who worked at CTA. She was thrown on the railroad tracks. And you had some armed security, K9 security staff that worked for CTA. The guy was beat up right on the platform of the train. So these are just a few crimes. Crime has increased on the CTA trains over this last year compared to last year. I mean, triple fold.
Right.
So if the National Guard were to come here, maybe they can just like an extra layer of support, visual, visible support on the CTA trains. But see, now you have to understand this too. Everybody in the world should understand this. Even though homicides are down by 17% in Chicago right now, the numbers do not mean anything to people that lost their loved ones. So you can talk a good game, try to polish up your presentation when you talk about reduction, which is a good, but you're comparing it to last year or the year before last, but the dynamics have changed this year. So a lot of work has been put into reducing homicides, but people still hurting out here. So Donald Trump, according to him, he said a lot of African-American women asked him to bring the National Guard to Chicago. So he was actually responding to some requests from people. And then you have some African-American people that are receptive to the National Guard. My thing is we need a black guard, a black National Guard, of black men and women that are interested in saving lives in their own community and provide us with the resources and let us go to work.
Why do you think they wouldn't do such a thing as a black National Guard?
Well, okay. What that comes down to is that would probably never happen because we've been so stuck with law enforcement and being punitive and being at a point where even some of our own people look for the police to do everything. See, that means we got to turn inward and work the solution
And
out.
accept the responsibility.
That's what I'm talking about. We have to accept the responsibility, go and bring everybody to the table. Some of the OGs from the past, some of the OGs from the present. I mean, not OGs from the present, some of the young guys together, and make sure that we can have a cohesive type of unit of people that can address every block, every corner where we have some issues. And I guarantee you, we can reduce it by 90%, but we need the resources as well. I'm not begging for money. I'm just talking about resources. We need some finances, but I'm not money hungry. See, one of the biggest misperceptions of a guy like me, I'm not money hungry. I'm the kind of guy, if I had 80 million right now, I would help my family out. I'd probably keep 5 million for myself. I'd give 75 million out to the community. I don't care less about that. I mean that from my heart. See, I'm not money hungry like that. I have a proven record of helping people, right? Make sure people get jobs and all that stuff. One of the biggest letdowns for me right now, I've helped a lot of people get on. There's some guys doing real good. I'm talking about they oversee millions of dollars. They don't call me back. I gave some of them guys their first job. They don't even think about calling me back. I'm not even interested in that, man. If you over some millions of dollars, I gave your first opportunity, pay it forward. What I do like about some of the old school rappers, they go pay it forward to some of the other rappers that may. I haven't fallen off, don't get me wrong, I'm doing okay, but it wouldn't hurt for you to come say, hey man, I'm over this 4, 5 million, 10 million, what you need?
It doesn't have to be something in your pocket. It could be them helping you to accomplish something that's going to benefit the people.
That's what I'm talking about. It's all for the people. It's not just about me, it's for the people. But people steady using violence interrupters in the news and all that stuff, but I own the patent on it, so I plan to address that as we go. But when it comes to the state and the federal government, the city, I just think a orchestrated effort from all different departments coming together with the grassroots people as well. You cannot leave out, see what I see some people doing, they leave out the young gunners. If you say you're working with the young gunners, invite them to the table because that's the audience you want to reach.
When people like you and I are gone, then who takes our place?
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, so
you know. Teach them. Well, what people don't know, I took violence interrupted to another higher level. I worked with Michael Vick doing his transformation when he was released from prison from the dog fighting. I started an anti-dog fighting program with the Humane Society of the United States some years ago. I rescued about 20 plus women from domestic violence scenarios in their lives. That's my way of paying it forward to women. And then I even have some of the OGs working with me now, like Don Dirk. And what Don did, he brought a lot of young people to the table with me. So now we have another 25 or 30 young people between the age of 16 and 24 working with us in the community, like in the Inglewood and Auburn Gresham area here in Chicago. The
men and women that have gone through the journey that we're talking about now in the past, they mostly have, or most of them from my communications, they're in a space now to whereas they're trying to clean up some of the havoc that they created back then. What do you say to people that say, oh, Tio's fake, man. He, you know, you see him, he running for governor, he doing this, he doing that, you know. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, for the people that think I'm faking, like I said before, I'm one of the most solid guys you would ever meet in your life. Yeah, I used to run the streets and all that kind of, I sold fake hash to the sailors and all that kind of stuff. And I've done a few other things in my life, but I've been solid when it comes to the movement for our people. I've never misled any young people. I've always been straight up. Even though I was a player type of guy, I always tell guys, they'll tell you I said this. The first thing I tell young guys in the county jail and on the streets, if you know you got a woman, stick with your woman, do the right thing, marry your woman and live your life, and your job and your legacy is to build your job as a man is to build a legacy. So I tell young people the truth. I don't spin on all that street stuff with people. I don't play like that no more. My life is my life, but I'm gonna tell you the truth, the way it's supposed to be told. That's number one, right? So I've never ever misled anybody. That's why one of the beauties of my work is when you see a young guy that come back 15 years later chasing me down the street saying, this is the reason I turned my life around right here.
There it is.
So you can't fake that. And I have about hundreds of stories like that because since 2004, we mediated over 1,200 conflicts, right? Since 2004. So I want to say this too. So when people say, that's a real good question, because I remember when I used to bring the people to the university. King Shorty Freeman, God bless his soul, the university, are you really working with the young guys? God blessed me through King Shorty Freeman to bring 100 young guys to the university. They had their shirts off, hats to the right, and they was getting down, you know, so I brought them, then all the people down there was looking crazy. This guy here for real, right? I'm the other guy, I'm the guy also that I would, if you have any question about what I do, come out and hit the streets with me and my staff, and then I'll make sure that some of the guys that were about to kill somebody, they will do an interview for you, and you'll know they real because they'll bring their whole background with them to show you that they ex-killers. These guys have got murder on their background. They got armed robbery in their background, and I bring them to sit down with you and they can tell you themselves, I don't even have to be there. if we can make that happen.
Yeah, we gonna make
Yeah.
that happen,
Yeah.
you know, so
So,
that people
yeah.
can understand what this work is really about.
Well, we can point to success stories, right? I turned my life around, opened up a recovery house for women. But most important in today's world, we rescued over 12 to 20 women from domestic violence situations. I have them women on standby right now to tell the story how I got them out of a domestic violence encounter. And now we relocated them. We made sure their kids got clothing and all that kind of good stuff. And then we mediated 40 conflicts this year. That's just for this year. And not to speak about the other years. And then we got these young people in school. We got them working. So the record, my work, so anytime somebody's ready to come on out and see, you have a few haters in the game. That happens in life. So you're not doing enough. You don't
They
have
like
no haters.
cheerleaders.
Right. I call them, like the OJ say, the backstabbers. They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. But it's one of the biggest things that I don't like in our community, and you know what I'm saying is true. A guy say, how you feel about that guy? He cool, but I don't mess with him. Everybody say that about everybody. And if I got an issue with anybody, I'm going to let you know. I'm not the guy that's going to play with you with that stuff. It ain't got nothing to do with being tough. Just I'm not going to have no hypocrisy. I don't do that anymore. See, I changed the old age statement. They say keep your enemies close to you. I've shifted that. My thing, keep your enemies way away from you so you won't forget they're your enemy. So when you see them coming, you know they're your enemy.
Right.
The reality of it nowadays, I still get some hate. I get hate because I'm on the news sometimes. The way I dress, carry myself, people still hate on me, but they're not going to tell me. It's important, you know, as men and as women, just the same, to make sure that if people are not for you, don't keep them around you. Power of forgiveness is awesome. So there's not one OG in the world today that can say, you know, I was perfect when I was out there on the streets.
Get out of here.
You don't have one. And when you're younger, when you come into power, you're going to make many mistakes. So judging people from their past when they made a lot of mistakes in their youth or whatever the case, you're dead wrong for that, because you got to look at your own life. Look at the man in the mirror before you pass judgment. And once again, the only job for any OG is to raise a family, build a legacy in a positive way. That's the only mission of a man.
How do you deal with families after the killing has taken place? How do you talk to these people? Because there's a lot of anger there. There's a lot of, you know, I want revenge, you know, just ready to explode. How do you try to diffuse that?
Yeah, a long time ago, we organized what's called a hospital response unit. And I was involved in the strategy development for the hospitals. And now we have interrupters working in hospitals throughout the city.
Right.
So we call it the golden hour or the golden 24 hours.
Right.
So when somebody's shot or killed or harmed, their family members do descend upon the hospital. And there's a lot of anger and everything going on. You got the working class family members that just want to see what happened to their loved one. The mothers, the grandparents, the sisters, and some of the brothers. Then you got the angry, crazy cousins that come to the hospital saying, we're going to kill everybody in town. So first, you have to kind of analyze what happened. You need to know the backstory of why that person got shot in the first place. And so the streets don't even care, because if you do something wrong, like I said earlier, the streets going to back you anyway, especially if they're your family. You could be dead wrong, but to them, you're right. So you got to know how to break all that down. So if a person does not want to listen at that time, you come back another day. But then you start working on the streets with the people that might know them people.
Right.
See if they can get in their ear. If you can get somebody to hold back for 48 hours, then you get some leeway to kind of work out the barter system and explain what happened. Your people was wrong, man. Your people was dead wrong. I know you don't want to hear it. Do what you want to do. That's why I go in the door initially. Do whatever you choose to do. Has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But if you really want to put your thinking cap on, take a look at what really happened before you make that and leap yourself out there.
Right.
So that's the way you deal with that. Then you get somebody in the family that can calm people down, you know, because cooler heads prevail. But the levels of anger are so high at the hospital, you can lose your life.
Right.
Going there trying to tell somebody to cool out. Because I guarantee you, like I've had run-ins before with family members, get him from out of here. We ain't trying to hear none of that peace stuff. Then I end up coming back anyway through another family member. Then the guy say, hey, no, that ain't how that go. I'm not here to preach to you, bro. You're a grown man. Do what you want to do. But I'm saying just hold up for 1 minute, though. Right. Analyze the situation. And once you get all your facts, if you still want to jump out there, that's on you. But I'm telling you to hold off on it, because if you want to do this, 9 times out of 10, everybody know it already.
Right.
So you need to fall back just for a minute. Then what helps us as far as our entry to the people is we have resources we go to them with. Help for the funeral costs, help with some of the hospitalization, whatever it might be, you know, trauma support for family members.
I'm here for support.
We're here for support. That's how you get in there.
Right.
And then it helps me out a lot because I'm a household name. And so people know me always. My man, I know him. He's cool.
Right.
You see, so that gets me right in the door.
You try to do that so that you don't have to have another funeral after that funeral.
Exactly.
How does the future of black people look in America?
Well, I believe, you have three different classes of the black community. You got the super rich, the rich, and really four, the middle class, working class, then the poor, then the absolute poor. So the future of the absolute poor and the working class poor, it'll probably stay the same because the dynamics have changed in the city of Chicago, for example. We've had a mass exodus of African American people leaving the city due to high property taxes and due to the gun violence. So that's a reality there.
Right.
So now the wealthy people, I'm not talking about the super rich because that's only like a small percentage of
right.
as far as the super billionaires. But the millionaire class, they're not really connected with the working class, and the poor and the absolute poor people. So
right.
there's a divide right there. But the future for just working class African American people, it's hard to really foresee based on the fact that we're still just doing the best we can to survive. And I talked about it earlier, it was revealed that black people own zero net worth in Chicago, and our population numbers are falling off because right now Hispanic people are right there with us. They're like around 33% of the population, white people 31 to 32%, black people, like we tied with Hispanic people. So pretty soon the Hispanic numbers will surpass our numbers and we'll dip. So if we don't unify, we're gonna end up being like a non-factor. See, right now the black vote is strong in Chicago and throughout Cook County, but eventually will be a non-factor as other people come in.
Do you believe that black people understand that if you have that kind of power with voting, that you should be negotiating?
People do negotiate, but it's not the people that's negotiating for the masses of the people. You have these individuals, some pastors and some leaders, they go in, like for example, they had a boycott of Target. Some of the faith-based leaders got involved in the boycott. And it was revealed to me later on in the game, a lot of them faith-based leaders received contracts from Target, but they left the people out. Once again, the younger people got left out. This is factual. This is nothing we just fabricating or making up. And so once I get the names of the pastors, I plan to reveal their names anyway, because I want to know why didn't you bring them resources to the people since you fought for the people.
Right.
So when you talk about negotiation, the political, having a strong political bloc brings forth resources, but they're going into the hands of people that are pretty much dealing with individualistic type of capitalistic thinking, opposed to reaching out for the masses. You're not going to be able to save everybody, don't get me wrong, but you can help more people than what you're doing by just helping your family. And that's what and their friends and cronies.
I get it.
And that's where the problem comes in, and that's one of the main reasons also why we end up having a shortage of resources, because they go to individuals.
What are some of the ways that we could address and hopefully turn some of that around?
You got to start exposing the people that are at the top of the chain that receive the resources, and they go there saying, well, I got all the people under control. Don't worry about it, I got them. I got them. Because even in the plantation, the movie Django, you had Samuel L. Jackson that played the role of the guy that worked for the master who had everybody in check. Yeah, Stephen. He played the role of Stephen. He had everybody in check. And then you had the movie Life with Eddie Murphy. You had Hoppin' Bob. Right. Bob, he was the guy that manned the gun line. If you cross the gun line, he gonna pop Hoppin' Bob, baby. And you always got these brothers that whitewash black men and some women. And nowadays you got guys like me that's outspoken, and some people don't like that. They would rather see me just give you like a little pacifist type of message, right? But that's not in my spirit. I've always been outspoken. I'm never gonna sit in a situation if I feel something's wrong or you harming somebody and all that stuff and it's unnecessary, I'm gonna speak up.
Exactly.
And, people don't like it. I almost lost my life a couple times speaking up for people.
If the governor released Mr. Hoover, how do you feel that would be helpful in the black community? Well,
Larry Hoover has become what you call an icon in the black community, whether right or wrong. He had his street life, yes. I've been advocating for the release of Larry Hoover over the last 25 years, so it's not new to me. Everybody knows I've written articles about it. I spoke about it on social media, so I believe that Larry Hoover, along with Jeff Ford, should be released based on the fact they're older now. And Larry Hoover's going to always be a part of the fabric in Chicago, just like John Dillinger, even though he wasn't from Chicago, he was shot and killed in Chicago by the police, Al Capone. So Larry has a chance to make it right a little bit. I'm not saying he should be released to go out here and do no magnificent work or anything, but just the mere fact that he's a legend in the United States, but definitely in Chicago, he could come out. And I do believe that if he pushed peace, a lot of young guys would gravitate towards his message. He's one of the guys that's undisputed in the streets, right? I never met him. A lot of my family members know him personally. They were locked up around him. A lot of my friends were very close to Larry Hoover. And I believe that he can make a big difference based on the fact that, because we cannot dismiss the past, far as, everything that took place. But everybody deserves a second chance. And his rappies was given a second chance. A lot of people he was on that initial case with, I'm talking about not the first case that he went to jail for as a homicide. I'm talking about the guys like Shorty G. I grew up with Shorty G to a degree over in Lion City. That's where he come from.
Right.
We were little kids at the time. The thing is this here. I believe that Larry would be more beneficial in Chicago right now. You talking about a 17% reduction in killings right now. Larry is, let's say they release Larry, just putting a message out there for them brothers to stop all the killings and stuff, you'll be surprised. We might get a bigger reduction in shootings out here.
You don't feel like brother has already done enough time to have paid for whatever it is that he's done?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That's what I'm talking about. So if he gets out, so let me clear that up. See, if he's released and he just goes home and hangs out with his mother, his wife, I know his wife Wendy and his sons and everything, but the opposition to it is all the people that end up going to jail, all the people that were killed, all the drugs that were sold. So those are skeletons of the past. But everybody, once again, deserves a second chance. Allow Mr. Hoover to come home and make it right. So there's two ways to look at it. If he's released, like say, go with his family, provided he's released. I feel he's going to be released personally. I believe Governor Pritzker is going to do the right thing and release Larry Hoover. We've been calling for that. But let's say he gets out and he begins to pay it forward and help some of these young brothers understand that they were headed in the wrong direction. And he's denouncing everything. He denounced it years ago, though, when he came up with growth and development. He changed it from Gangster disciple to growth and development. So the man, come on, he's in his 70s now. That's a big question here in the United States, what to do with the older prison population, the elderly prison population. They can't change who Larry Hoover is. But for some reason, Larry Hoover's name has been, his name just stayed in the universe forever. So I think it'd be great to have him out here.
Hey, brother. If you want to tell your story, I can assure you, whatever you say to me, it'll go to the public. If people wanted to contact you in order to prevent a situation or to try and better their lives, what are the platforms that they can contact you on?
Yeah, you can reach out to Tio Hardiman, myself, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. I'm all over the place. I also host a radio show on WVON, 1690 AM every Sunday morning from 6 AM to 7 AM.
Okay.
And you can visit my website at violenceinterrupters.org. That's violenceinterrupters.org.
Spell it out for them.
Yeah, violenceinterrupters.org. We're working with 100 young people now in the communities in which we serve, and we're doing our best. We got 35% of them enrolled back into alternative schools. The other 35%, we have them working job training, and the remaining 30%, we have them, a few of them are in mental health services, and a few of them are in some services to kind of help them with their trauma development in their lives. And then we have a few of them in some writing sessions and learning how to read a little bit better. So we're working all across the board with young people, and we've had to relocate some people to other cities and towns because things were too tough for them here.
I get it.
And we relocated families also. And so even in the domestic violence arena, which is close to my heart, is that I've had to pay it forward to women. And so what I've done is we rescued 20 women, and I have all women, all their names and where they are now, how we relocated them. So if anybody wants to learn more about our domestic violence outreach, they can reach out to me on from our website.
Define OG.
Person that's a thoroughbred. Individual with a proven track record of helping the community at large, and then going through trials and tribulations in their own personal development in life, whether it be female or male, and they overcame tragedy. They overcame injustice. They overcame whatever was thrown in their lap. They had the opportunity to kind of maneuver around it and become successful in their lives. The thing about an OG also, they have staying power. They're consistent. It's one thing preaching to somebody, trying to tell them what they should do, but do you have a track record of doing it? I'm talking about something positive.
Yes, sir.
Something that uplifts people in the community. An OG is a person that took care of his family first, and then he looked out for everybody else. in a positive way. See,
get
I'm
it.
no longer going to embolden a lot of street images just to be seen as OGs. You have OGs from different persuasions in life. You got OGs that have become successful businessmen without even running the streets.
You don't have to be in the street.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. You have OGs that ran the streets, they became successful. So I have to kind of mix it up. An OG doesn't just have to be all street. You can have an academic OG. Okay, you can have a person that's academically inclined to help the people think on a higher level.
Believe
so
that.
OGs, as long as you have a proven track record of success through trial and tribulation, they say, you know, when you go through the fire, you come out. They put diamonds through the fire and they outlast the fire. You know, you cannot destroy the diamond, in other words. So the OG is a diamond that used to be in the rough that now is a beacon of hope, a shining example of how a person should be. To me, like, Deion Sanders is an OG.
Hello.
Because you look at his contributions to the NFL, to his sons. You look at Master P, he's an OG.
Hello.
You know, he turned $10,000 his grandfather left him from an insurance policy into a billion dollar empire.
Hello.
So you got a lot of OGs out there from different persuasions. That's what I'm talking about. And you have a lot of the rappers now, they're going back, paying it forward, helping the community at large. My man Master P, he built over 200 homes in New Orleans for the people. You know, you got NFL players and professional athletes like LeBron James. He's sending young people to college every year. So those are like, they have OG characteristics and qualities.
For you, brother, you know, to authenticate what you've just said to me and to appreciate it, this is our cap, the OG cap. You can go online, you can purchase it if you like. I'm gonna sign this and I'm gonna present it to you, sir.
Appreciate you.
So, here you go, my brother.
Appreciate you.
Hey, it is my pleasure and my honor. Hey, keep doing what you're doing, black man.
Yes, sir.
And we'll
Yes,
be
sir.
working together, you know, no different than we always have, but we're gonna take it to the next level.
Oh, this means a lot to me.
If you'd like to have an authenticated OG hat or t-shirt or any of our apparel, you can go online, you can find us, or you can hit us up in the comments. Hey, thank you very much. That's it. That's all.